Running a brokerage is hard work, so whether you're focused on building your own sales pipeline, hiring the best agents, leveling up your team's production, or protecting the culture you've built, you're in the right place. Real estate brings the challenges, and we share the solution. Welcome to the show dedicated to broker entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Brokerpreneur Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokerpreneur Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben Spears, the Doctor of Flow. I'm here with the big guy as usual, Matt Vibe. What's up, Matt?
Man, I am... So I'm going to go with a 5 and a 5, Ben. So we do it on the Masterminds. We don't always do it on the podcast. Of course, that's motivation and momentum. That's probably the best way of explaining it. I'm super on a 5 and a 5. So
yeah. No, I love that, guys. Wherever you're listening, I want to make sure that you understand, because not everybody's been to Brokerpreneur Not So Secret Society. Not everybody's been one of our clients. Man, we start so many things with motivation and momentum being your mindset and your skill set, because it's so important to know, like, okay, this is where I am. Not only because you want to be thinking about that yourself, but you want to be able to communicate that with other people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like our little checkup inside of our company, inside of our community.
Yeah, it's a check-in. You can walk around, and if everybody in your office knows that, if you just explain that in the sales meetings and everything, you walk by somebody, they're walking in the front door, you go, where you at, motivation and momentum? And then go 5 and a 2, and you're like, oh crap, I better pay attention to that, right? Or they're going to go 5 and a 5, and you're like, that's fantastic, what's going on, right?
Going to ignore them the rest of the day. No, I'm joking.
That's right. So killer. So yeah, that's just a quick check-in.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. You know it. Guys, before I get Matt talking about what the topic is and all that kind of stuff, wherever you're listening to this, make sure to hit that follow and subscribe button. And I brought it up just a second ago, Brokerpreneur Not So Secret Society. It's every single Friday. And it's just a great call. 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Brokers from across the country come. Matt and I are there live on a Zoom, and we just have a great time. We have a lot of laughs. We talk about everything growing a brokerage, and just some crazy stories of what everybody's going through sometimes, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's cool because it's not a podcast. It's a mastermind.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, killer.
So, Matt, what are we talking about today?
So we're gonna dig into a couple of things about building a high performance sales team. Basically, okay. Here's the reason why. Just being super direct with it. I think everybody knows the market's shifting. We've been talking about it however long. Some people are feeling it more than other people. We get Thursday. There's a bunch of agents from across the country that are on Mastermind. Rest of the week, there's brokers from all over the place. We're hearing it from everybody. It's here, right? That's what we've been talking about it, and there's been some things disguising it, but ultimately everybody kind of feels like that shift is here, and so we want to make sure that we're focusing on the right thing. And one of the smart things to focus on, of course, is your sales team, making sure that they're out there doing the things that they need to do. So
awesome. So I have a question.
Yep.
And it's one of those things, Matt, where we get this a lot, right? When we talk and we're having our masterminds, or we're in, just in a group setting, we'll have brokers kind of talk to us about their monthly meetings, right? And I'm putting it that way for a second,
right?
You know where it's going,
yeah.
And we call them just because that's traditionally what they're called. Mm-hmm. We don't care what they're called,
right?
We call it a sales meeting,
right?
Sometimes you get brokers who are like, yeah, that's what I call mine,
right? Sometimes
you get brokers where it's like, I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah.
And I know we're not talking about sales meetings today, but I want to bring that up because we're talking about sales teams.
Right.
And I feel like there might be some brokers who have maybe like, I don't want to have like a sales team.
Right.
So I want you to just define for our listeners, what is a sales team for a second?
Yeah. So what you're talking about is, some brokers sometimes are like, well, I call it a sales rally, or I call it, I don't call it nothing to do with sales, because that's not what we're going over. Right. We call it our meetup, or we call it our, whatever it is. Right. Oh, rock on.
Right.
Whatever you want to call it.
Smurfs.
That's right. The Smurf meet up in the mushroom. I don't care. All right. Oh, be consistent with it.
Yeah.
And the name needs to describe what it is. That's the biggest thing that we go over, right? So, we've had some people come in and they're in meetings and they're like, oh man, I don't call it a sales meeting. And then I say, well, what do you talk about? And they're like, well, sales. Like, why the hell are you calling it something else, right? So whatever it is, find that name, label it, and then keep it in that basket. Right?
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time. Vocabulary is just so important.
You know
right?
it.
Okay. So if you've got a sales meeting and you're talking about sales, then call it a sales meeting. If you're not talking, right? Okay, so we all get that.
Right.
Same thing goes with your sales team. If your team is not making any sales, don't call them a sales team.
It's a pity party.
Call them your friends that drink coffee together.
Yeah, exactly.
But hopefully that's not what's going on. But I'm gonna you know, we're joking about that, but I'm gonna stress this for just a second.
Yeah.
Oh, if you don't call them your sales team, if you just call them your agents, if you don't address it like it's a group of people that should be focused on sales on a regular basis whenever you're in front of them, maybe that's part of the reason why they're not acting like a sales team.
Yeah, could be.
Okay. So there's two key, vocabulary is everything. There's two key components here.
Okay.
One is sales and the other one is team. Okay. So as far as the agents, I think, you know, whenever I say sales team, everybody's like, oh yeah, I know what a sales team is. Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Right. Okay. The sales team is not just the people making sales. The sales team is also the people supporting sales.
Okay.
So don't take the staff that has everything to do with the back end of making sure that your agents are able to do more prospecting and do more connecting and do more sales. Don't ignore them as part of your sales team, because they are part of your sales team, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
not just the infantry.
That's exactly right. It's a sales team.
Right.
Right. So that's why I wanted to talk about this, right? Because sometimes a little bit of that gets lost. And here's the reason why. Sales start to drop.
Yeah.
When sales start to drop, people that are money conscious do the right thing. They start looking around the room and go, okay, what can I cut here?
Right.
And then they look at part of their sales team that might not be the right part of their sales team to be looking at. So they've got agents that are supposed to be going out doing the things that they need to be doing. And then they have this staff who is working their ass off behind the scenes, trying to support those salespeople that are doing what they're supposed to. Now, there's not as many sales going on, so everybody's not as busy as they could or should be. However, the people that are in the back, you start looking at them and you go, well, they're hourly. If I cut those hours, you know, because I don't have to, you know, there's not as many sales, so I don't need that. Is that really where you need to make that cut? Is that the part of the team? It might be.
Yeah, could be.
But is that really the part of the team that you need to cut? Or is it time to shift that person now?
Yeah.
Is it time to say, hey, listen, you used to spend a tremendous amount of your time stacking up, being a transaction coordinator, stacking up the files and getting them lined up so that nothing got missed along the way. You're not doing as much of that now. So now is it time to get that person to help out and say, hey, listen, does everybody have their database? Can you help people get their CSV into their database? Can we do a little bit of that? Because now they're still part of your sales team.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, oh, well, things are slowing down and Betty Sue handles transactions. Let's cut Betty Sue's hours, or let's get rid of Betty Sue. Start looking at those, what they consider fixed expenses, and they're ignoring the other things that actually support being able to generate that revenue.
Gotcha. Excuse me.
Was that the long way around that? Is that good?
No.
Did that answer your question?
Absolutely, It does. So my next question is, because we're bringing this up, right? I heard you talk about the market and, you know, shifting market. Obviously, brokers, owners, managers should be having these meetings year-round, forever. Right? I don't know about the time. You know, I'll leave that to you as far as weekly, monthly, whatever.
Right.
But you're putting together a sales team shouldn't be something that someone just says, "Oh shit, market's changing.
Right.
I need to start focusing on like building a sales team."
Right.
And I know that's not what you're saying, but I don't want them to hear that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know, I want the market to just be like killing it.
Yep.
And you're still be like, okay,
right. Keep
sales
building them.
team.
Yeah.
Sales
Keep building
team.
them. Yeah. Absolutely. So, So great point. So this is, so what this is more of the alarm going off to wake you up.
Yeah.
If you weren't already awake on this.
Right.
All right. So and if you were, so a big thing that happens with a lot of brokers is they're busy. They get pulled a bunch of different directions.
You know,
100% I get it.
Yep.
Okay. But this is just kind of a wake up call to kind of circle back in if you haven't been. All right.
Yeah.
Are you building a sales team? In your sales meetings, are you talking about things that are going to help them deal with this market? Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't just mean, right, we've talked about this in Florida, right? Some condo stuff happened in Florida. I don't mean just having a conversation about the condo stuff and did you talk about contracts? Absolutely, that matters. Are you talking about negotiating and how to hold the line on commissions right now? Are you having that conversation in your meeting on a regular basis? Because that's gonna become more and more relevant going forward, right? Have you talked about how to negotiate, how to help your seller negotiate with? Does your sales team know how to help the seller negotiate when the inspections come in?
Yeah.
Because for a couple of years, that's not been a big deal.
Oh, of course not.
It is now.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't, but it is now bigger than it was. So those are all things that if you want to really develop your sales team, it's not just about, can I go hire some more people? It's actually about, what am I doing on a regular, consistent basis to make sure they're staying on track. So let me talk to the small brokers right now, and then I'm going to talk to the big brokers right now, okay? Because we never know who's listening, right? Small brokers. You need to make sure that you have an agenda now through the end of the year of however often your sales meetings are, whatever you call them. You need to have an agenda of exactly what you're going to be discussing to make sure that they stay ahead of the trending market.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to make sure that you're doing that on a very regular basis. Big brokers, big brokerages. If you're the manager of that brokerage, you need to make sure that whoever it is that is in charge, that you have a conversation with them and say, hey, listen, I'd like for us all to be on the same exact page with this. Let's make sure that we're doing training. Maybe this manager can train on this and this manager can train on that. We're going to video record it. That way we can share it with people. We can use it on social media. There's a lot of different things that you can do with it if you're collaborating to make sure that message gets out the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Small broker that's still selling, be fundamental about it, be systematic, know at least the next 6 months of how to deal with this market. If you're not sure, go look at your state association site. They're going to give you some heads up. Go look at NAR. They're putting out some good information about what you should be talking about. Okay.
Yep.
Big brokerages, if you're the manager, you need to make sure that you're collaborating with other managers. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If you're the owner of all of that, you better stop doing what you're doing and put an agenda together over the next 12 months. Because if you're not on the same page, a small broker can be nimble, they can go sell and everything. A big broker, you're going to lose market share if you're not dealing with this the right way. Okay? Yep. So get your team all on the same page, leverage what you have. If you've got 20 managers, 15 managers, 50 managers, 8 managers, whatever the number is, all of them are good at different things. Give them some topics about what's going on with the market. Spread that out. Make sure that you're having them not only talk about it in their sales meetings, but record some of that and then get some of that on social media. It's going to help you from a recruiting standpoint. And your current agents, retention-wise, it's going to help them because they see that you're acknowledging what's going on in the market and you as a company are attacking that.
Yeah.
Don't be one of those big brokerages that's just MIA right now and all that what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. I have a quick question to that. I actually have 2 questions. Really quick, like 5 seconds. Small brokerage, big brokerage. Like, define that a little bit. Like, if someone's listening, because they're brokers.
Staff under 5, staff over 5. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah, perfect.
And real staff. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're over that many, you've got some people that can probably help out with some of that training, and you've got other people.
So you're talking about like admin, that kind of staff.
Staff.
Not like
not sales associates. Yeah, staff.
Yeah. Right. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I love that.
That's just an easy way of
Yeah, for sure. I want to make sure that everybody's out there thinking. So. When we're building a sales team, right? We had this conversation on a mastermind the other day, and somebody said, "Gosh, the market's kind of crazy. I got some people who are underperforming.
Yeah,
who do I keep? Because let's say you have 20, 25 agents. It's easier if you've got 1,000, right? To be like, okay, some of them just aren't producing. Like, you got 20, 25 agents." Or 5,
right?
And half of them, or a third of them, aren't doing any transactions. Are you talking to those people and you're saying, I want you on my sales team? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know any other way of saying, but how do we have that conversation of knowing, okay, this is my sales team? Hey, Dr. Ben here. I hope you're enjoying this episode. If sometimes you feel overloaded or alone when it comes to building your brokerage, I want you to know that we are here for you. There's so much support available to agents, but hardly any dedicated to brokers. I want to personally invite you to schedule a complimentary strategy call where Matt will help you build a 3-step profitability plan that will immediately produce results. This is not a sales pitch. There's no obligation. Simply click the link in the description below. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, I'm going to focus on a very specific part of that conversation. It was a great conversation, right?
Yeah.
We got a lot of feedback from a bunch of the brokers. I'm going to focus on a really specific part of that conversation because I want to be really cognizant of time and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so number one is this. You know, the conversation came up about minimum standards, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not going to say that I'm torn on the minimum standards because I think that they're fantastic based on certain factors. Again, I don't want to get sidetracked on that. Okay, let's do another podcast. Let's do another podcast on that. Here's the main thing that I said. Don't look around at your sales team. Look around at your sales team and say, you know what, we're going to have some minimum standards up in here. Yeah. Man, everybody's going to start doing what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody's going to. I have zero issue if you want to do that.
Yeah.
But the first thing that you need to understand doing that is, are you sticking, as the manager, as the broker owner, are you sticking to what it takes to support those minimum standards? That is the biggest issue that I've seen historically with putting minimum standards in place.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're saying minimum standards, it's an internal versus external locus of control, right? My office isn't performing, so I'm going to tell these people that they need to do what they need to do instead of saying, man, I looked at my quartile report. I've looked at what it is that I'm doing. There are people that are not performing, and I know that they're not coming to meetings. I know that they're not in coaching. I know that they're not doing the things that they need to do. I know that they're not prospecting. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some minimum standards in. They better get going. Okay, hold on a second. Are you doing what you need to do? If you want to have a strong sales team, are you doing the things that you need to do to start with?
Yeah.
If you're doing those, here's the cool thing. If you're doing those, people are going to see it, and the people that are like, "Uh-oh, he's serious. He's doing the things, or she's doing the things that she needs to be doing. Man, I better kind of fall in line. I better get going, right?"
Yeah.
Or they're going to say, "Man, I got to go.
Yeah.
I don't like it up in here. Yeah. Things got real."
Yeah.
And so they don't want to.
Everybody's looking at me weird while I'm knitting.
That's exactly right. And making church flyers on the copier.
Yeah.
While all that's happening, you know, there's a certain amount of people saying, okay, hold on a minute. If everybody around me is starting to do what they need to do and I'm not doing it, that's going to have the biggest impact on your minimum standards.
Yeah.
And so doing this thing where you say, hey, I'm just going to go up in minimum standards, and man, that's going to make everybody do what they're supposed to. Bull crap.
Man.
Step one, if you're thinking about minimum standards, if you're thinking about getting rid of people, if you're any of that, the first thing I do is go, okay, as soon as I say this out loud, what am I going to do over the next 3, 6, 9 months to make sure anybody that's not hitting those gets up to speed? I'm going to do my part. If I do my part and they're still not performing, I think it's easy to tell them goodbye.
Completely agree.
If I'm putting that effort
you're excited about it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You're like, man, you are exhausting. You got to go.
Yeah.
I've done everything I can. I know so whenever we struggle with letting people go, and should I keep this person, everything, part of the reason why is we're going, man, you know, I've kind of tried, but I've kind of not. Maybe I could just find somebody else that'll do what they're supposed to do, and I can keep doing what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the way to look at it, especially right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Hopefully that helps you guys out there in podcast land. Yeah. Now, my last question about this, and then I'll let you just talk about whatever you want, right? Because I just keep thinking about things every time you say something. We have brokers out there who tell us all the time also, like, man, like I try and do something, or I try and initiate something, and just like a quarter of the people show up.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not talking about sales meetings, but when we're talking about a sales team, it's a team, just like you say, right? So it's like teams got to practice,
right? Absolutely,
that kind of thing. How can brokers get their agents, their brokers, their sales associates, whatever you call it, to be motivated to say, okay, we're gonna really crack down and make this SEAL Team 6 sales team, like whatever you want to, how do you motivate them to go from wherever they are to maybe get a little bit more excited about these sales conversations.
All right. So because I was just soapboxing broker, do what you're supposed to do, because I was just soapboxing that part,
Yeah.
that's critical in this. So I'm going to ignore that for just a second. I'm going to act like that's not part of it. It's a huge part of it, but I'm going to act like that's not part of it. Okay. So I'm going to give you, this isn't the silver bullet, but I'm going to give you something that you can do that will make a difference. Okay. Because a lot of brokers, if they do this, it's automatically going to make a little bit of a difference. Okay. So two types of compensation. We talk about this all the time. There's financial compensation. There's emotional compensation.
Yeah.
If your team is not engaged in doing the things that they need to be doing, and you as the broker are doing the things that you need to, and they see you being that leader, they see you being in that position doing what you're supposed to, then they're not getting enough emotional compensation.
Okay.
It's time to emotionally compensate them more. If you emotionally compensate them more, you're going to get a better result. They're going to buy in more. Emotional compensation, that's different types of recognition, all that kind of stuff, right? We got a bunch of other podcasts on it, digging all that. But if you want to quickly make some things happen, that's where I would, accountability first, and then that's the next place I would go is that emotional compensation.
Yeah, because you almost want like FOMO.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't. It only takes a little bit of a little bit of success to get everyone else thinking like, all right, like let me do my part, learn a little bit more about this, or I guess it takes a little bit of failure.
Yeah.
Also, could be the same thing. But that makes perfect sense.
You say in a sales meeting, the new or newer agent has just blown up with their prospecting and done everything that they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And your agents that are experienced, that are competitive, they're usually leading the way.
Yeah.
And you're just going, man, they just were doing this and everything was fantastic. And man, I love it when all you guys do it, but they really did it. Man, look out.
Oh yeah.
That is just motivation gold right there. Right?
You know.
And just keep passing out that type of compensation, and you're gonna see a great result from it. Okay.
Yeah. I love that. So and again, we're kind of around the top of our podcast here, but let's say our brokers are having a sales meeting, or they're saying like, man, I like this. I listen to that podcast. I want to, really kind of focus on this sales team mentality.
Mm-hmm.
What's one step that you could give them?
Quartile your people, so you know where to put your effort.
Right. Explain that to me.
Yeah. So break your office down into 4 sectors and try to move people through the sectors. The sectors are based on production, and just break it down in a way so that it allows you where to pay the most attention to get the best results. I would step 1 would be quartile.
Gotcha. So you're saying, just for me to break this down, you're saying if I had 20 agents, break it into 5, put them in a list by production.
Yeah.
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
And go 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah.
I have that card. Gotcha.
Yep. You can say the 5 that are doing the most, or you can say this group that is doing the most production. There's several ways that you can look at it, but I would just break it into the four pieces.
Yep. Yeah. I love that. Well, I hope that helps you guys, because that helped me already. I'm just thinking about all these different things.
Yeah.
In my life that I can quartile now.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
4 people in my family. I'm like, y'all ain't picking up the slack. That's Jameis saying that.
I'm sure it is.
Awesome, Matt. Well, guys, if you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, any of those platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, what's up? We're happy that you're here.
Yep.
Make sure you hit that red button, that red subscribe button, that bell right beside of it, get notified every time we drop a new episode. Matt.
Yep.
We talk about quartiles, and we talk about sales teams and sales meetings, whether they like it or not. We do that for one reason alone. Tell them why that is.
Man, we just want to be part of your win.